Okay, we're live. We're off the mark. Welcome back, everybody. If you are returning to us after Christmas break, and welcome to Media Savvy. If this is the first course that you're doing with us, absolute pleasure to have you with us. Like I say, you might get into the chat live, like we've sort of discussed while we've been getting you signed up, getting you enrolled. But of course, you guys know by now, if you need to just watch the session later on in the week, whenever you get a little bit of time, that's totally fine as well. You can always just come back to this link that I've sent out. And of course, you'll be able to come back and revisit this session, or like I say, just get caught up whenever suits you. So first of all, just in case this is the first course that you're doing with either myself or with Media Savvy, I'm Rob. We might have spoke already, we probably have spoke already, but I'm going to be delivering not just this course, but a lot of the health and fitness and well-being sort of stuff going forward. So it's a face you're gonna have to get used to, but yeah. So today, for this morning, we've got our Understanding My Fitness course, and it's just a little short course, just a little one-day course, and it's designed to get us thinking about what fitness means to us, what fitness means to you as an individual and as a person, because I think it's different for everybody. You know, I think having worked in the gym for a lot of years as a personal trainer, you know, I speak to people who have had all sorts of different goals. You might have individuals who want to reduce a little bit of body fat before a special occasion, like a wedding or a holiday or whatever it might be. And you might have someone who wants to train for the Great North Run, you know, or like a park run, or the Race for Life or something like that, and they want to get a little bit fitter in that sense. And then you've got, you know, people who, to be fit, to be active, to them might just mean, you know, I'd like to be able to go for a walk without getting out of breath. I'd like to be able to play with the kids when they come round, or the grandkids, or, you know, or it might even be I'd like to be able to take the dog out more often, but I don't feel fit enough. So there's different types of fitness, and it's really easy to get sucked into what other people are doing on their fitness journey when you start off on your own. You know, it's really easy to say, right, okay, I want to get fitter, I want to get more healthy. Okay, where do I start from there? You know, and it's sometimes difficult deciding where to go from there. And some of the best ways to, or one of the best ways to sort of decide is to think about broadening this idea of fitness and what it means to you and what you would actually like to get out of it. Because like I say, there's lots of different, what we call components of fitness. There's lots of different areas or aspects to fitness. And the ones of those that are important to me might not be so important to you. So if I was just new to a gym or new to a fitness class or whatever, and I just, you know, oh, what are you doing? I'll come and join in that with you, as I did when I started exercising and training. I wasn't qualified as a personal trainer. I went to the gym with a mate who was trying to get stronger and lifting weights for strength, whereas I was actually trying to put a little bit of weight on. And I just like, okay, I didn't know what I was doing, so I just did what he was doing. And then later on, I went on and got myself qualified, and, you know, went through my personal trainer course and stuff like that. And I realized that his training was ideal for him, but it wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. And that got me thinking, you know, like, fitness is different for everybody. And like I say, having an idea what areas of fitness are most important to you can really help us plan. You know, it can help us get a plan together, and then it becomes not just a New Year's resolution, or it's not just a goal that you've sort of loosely set yourself. It's something that you actually have a plan. You have an action plan. So I'll elaborate a little bit more as we go through this morning. As always, guys, I will have one eye on the live chat. So if you are watching along live, or if you manage to watch along live at any point, if you've got any questions, or you want to just, you know, pop into the chat and, you know, type us a little hello or whatever, you know, I've always got one eye on the chat. So if you've got any questions or anything, by all means, pop it in there. If you're watching the session later on in the week, and obviously we aren't live anymore, then just drop me an email. So to direct you towards my email, and any other important information that you might need. It's all in the description below this YouTube video. So if you, if there might be a little drop down arrow that'll expand the description box, and then in that description box, you've got any extra information that you guys might need going forward. So we've got, what have we got? I'm just trying to get it up on my end there. So we've got, there will always be a link to our Google Drive where you can find any sort of extra supplementary learner info, extra info about media savvy, you know, learning safely online, what to do if you've got any concerns or problems or anything like that. In the description box as well, we've got links to our social media pages, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So if you want to stay up to date with what we've got going on, hit us up on one of those. My email address, you can usually find in the description below the video as well. I'm just going to type it in the chat now, just in case. That makes it a little bit easier to find. So we've got Rob at mediasavvy.co.uk. So that's my email address, guys. If you need anything, like I say, just email me on that and I'll get back to you when I can. The last two bits of information in the description box worth keeping your eye out for. We've got a fitness video, which is attached to every session that we do, or we have different fitness sessions. So, of course, for today, I'm thinking, you know, we're in January, we're maybe just beginning our new fitness journey. We're just starting to, you know, get wheels in motion and start to build a little bit of momentum. So today's fitness video is just a nice little stretching video. It's about 20 minutes long. So if you click the link in the description, it'll take you straight to that stretching video. You can do it sort of comfortably at home. You don't need any kit or anything like that. This is just a good way to get moving again, loosen up. You know, maybe you've just rested over Christmas. Maybe it's been a decade, 2 decades since you've been, you know, actively trying to be more fit and active as well. So like I say, we're all at a different place, but we can all manage a little stretch, I'm sure. So we've got a little stretching video for today. At any point, not just once you've completed a session or done a session with us, if you follow that link as well, it'll take you straight to our playlist. And our YouTube playlist has got 9 or 10 different workout videos in as well. So if you wanted to go on and, you know, have a look, oh, I want to do my core today, I want to train some abs, there's an abs video on there, you know, so you don't have to do the session that is attached today. If you're not really feeling a stretch, maybe you've already stretched this morning, you're thinking, do you know what, I fancy something a little bit more intense. Still follow that link and it'll take you, like I say, to our playlist, and you can have a look through and pick a video that's sort of suitable for how you're feeling day to day. And the beauty of it is you can come back and you can always revisit those videos as well. So, you know, while we are in the cold months and it's a little bit nasty outside, it's raining and windy, and we maybe don't want to go for a run or get the bike out or whatever it might be, just some resources there and some options that you can use to exercise at home. Okay, guys, so that said, the last thing in the description box that I want to point out to you before we really jump into this morning's session is there's a link for a survey. And for each session that we do, I just got to ask you to fill in the survey just by following that link. It doesn't even take 30 seconds. And once you've filled it in, the answers come straight back to us. You don't need to download it, fill it in, save it, email it back, or anything like that, guys. So yeah, not even 30 seconds. Please do that survey. It gives us some important information that we need to do paperwork on your behalf to save us sending it to you or needing to ring you and hassle you about all of that. And at the same time, guys, your feedback is always really important to us here at Media Savvy. We're always trying to improve and work on making you guys and giving you what you're going to get the most out of, pretty much. So yeah, that feedback's always really valuable to us as well. Okay, guys, that said, that's everything in the description box that I need to point out, and we can crack on now and get those minds working a little bit. So yeah, the idea of understanding my fitness, I guess the key word there is mine, not your fitness, not somebody else's fitness. And you know, it's the same way as to give you a bit of an example, you might look at somebody who's got lots of muscles, you know, it might be at the beach or the swimming pool or whatever, got or maybe he's at the gym, you know, someone who's got just big muscles, not much body fat, clearly really strong. You know, some people would look at him and go, or look at that individual and say, wow, isn't that person really fit? I wish I was that fit. But then you see other people who, you know, you might see someone who does like long distance running or something like that, like some marathon runners and stuff like that you see. They aren't built like that. They're not big and stocky and broad shouldered. They tend to be more petite, you know. If you look at somebody like a Mo Farah or somebody like that, and again, other people might look at him and think, oh, he's really fit. I wish I was that fit, you know. And those are two different body types. Those are two totally different shapes, totally different lifestyles, goals. But at the same time, you can be successful at both. I think the biggest takeaway really is in that somebody like Mo Farah looks at what he wants to do and he'll work on the aspects that just make him better at that. Yeah. So that is where this sort of thing is important, because if you can decide, look, okay, my idea of fitness is, you know, to be cardiovascularly fit, so I can, you know, I don't get out of breath when I'm doing a little bit of running or a little bit of walking or something like that. You know, if you say that's your definition of fitness and that is what is most important to you, you can go and focus on that straight away and you can work on improving that, you know, rather than doing other stuff. Whereas if you don't really know what areas or components of fitness you'd like to work on, then I guess to an extent, you're really just trying to develop them all at the same time, which is really difficult to do, because your training and your exercise should be specific to your goals and which components of fitness you would like to improve. So with that being said, let's actually have a look at these components that I keep talking about. So what am I on about? And we've actually got a little activity to do first. So if I can make that a little bit bigger for you. There we go. And hopefully you can see that without me being in the way. There we go, cool. So what we've got there, we've got a little word search to do. So at the bottom, we've got a list of words. So all of these are to do with different types of fitness, yeah, or different ways that we can test our own fitness. So we've got strength, flexibility, balance, heart rate, speed, coordination, agility, wellness, reaction time, cardiovascular endurance, exercise heart rate, physical activity, muscular endurance, body composition, resting heart rate, and physical fitness. Yeah. So what's 4, 8? We've got 16 words there to look for. We'll just give it 5 minutes or so. And then I'll start working through and breaking these down and just giving you a little bit of a description for each of them. So yeah, see what words you can pick out. See if there's any that jump out to you a little bit sooner, a little bit quicker. Get what you can, guys, and then we'll move on in a few minutes or so. If I ever go to move on to the next slide while you're still trying to find the last couple of words, or still trying to, you know, need that little bit of extra time, what you can do, guys, even if you're watching along live, just pause the video and then just catch up when you're ready. You know, there's nothing worse when you've found like 15 words in a word search and then someone just gives you the last one. You know, I at that point would rather find the last one myself. I don't know whether that's just me, but yeah, if you do ever feel like you need that little bit of extra time, then by all means just pause it and we can catch up from there. So just while you guys start to have a little bit of a look through, bear in mind as well, or maybe to make a little bit of a mental note, have you heard of any of these before? Are these terms that you've come across? Are these words that you've come across? Have you come across them, but you're not sure what they mean? You know, and then again, once we understand what each of them are, we can really start to make decisions on, right, okay, what's important to me? Which of these are actually important to me? You know, because like I say, maybe you've got a New Year's resolution to get to be a little bit healthier, or words to that effect, or maybe this is just where you are at the minute, and regardless of it being January, you would be looking at making a bit of a change right now anyway. There's lots of different reasons that people begin a fitness journey, and that's not always the why you've got started isn't always the most important thing. It tends to be, right, okay, what do you actually mean when you say you want to get fitter? Because I've had clients come into the gym and they've said, oh, I want to get fitter, and you do something with them for 6 weeks because they haven't really been specific, and it's like, oh, well, I'd like to do a little bit more of this, and it's like, right, okay, if you said that you wanted to get stronger, I'd have done that from day one, but you said you wanted to get fitter. So if we can be a little bit more specific, then we can really nail down our goals and start to move towards them as well, because we're not getting pulled off in different directions. We figure out which components are most important to us. We then look into what exercises, etc., what activities actually improve that, and then we just work on those. We're not worrying about all the other extra bits. It's the same as, like, I used to see quite a lot of people in the gym that would run on a treadmill, but their goal wasn't to get better at running. Their goals was other stuff, So rather than spending an hour and a half on a treadmill every day, they might have been better off coming in and doing some weights or whatever based on what it was. So, like I say, if you're a little bit more sort of focused or got a little bit more of a clear idea in your mind what the word fitness means to you, you can much more effectively start putting stepping stones in place to get you from where you are now to that point, Whereas, like I say, if you just sort of like, yeah, I want to get a bit fitter, and you leave it at that, you get to a gym, you don't know where your time's best spent. Is it best spent on the weights? Is it the boxing bags? Is it getting a skipping rope out? Are you best off swimming? Should you be in the swimming baths doing that instead? And the answer is going to be different from person to person, which is why what somebody else does for their fitness or nutrition, even, just to bring that in a little bit, just because it works for them, it might not necessarily work for you. And as a general rule, it probably won't. Right, so let's start breaking things down a little bit anyway. So I'm going to point out where we found them first. So they're up on the screen, and yeah, by all means, while I'm giving a little description of what each of the words means, you can just have a little bit of a scan on that grid that's on the screen there and see which ones you got, if there was any that you missed. And again, if you need a bit more time, you can always pause it when I'm sort of moving on. Okay, guys, so strength. Strength is probably, I'm going to say probably, a word that you've come across before, or an idea that you've come across before. So strength in this context, what we're talking about, it's moving a lot of weight just once, yeah, or very, very few times, maybe twice, yeah. It's lifting something that's really heavy, not many times at all, yeah. It's moving something that's heavy probably only once, yeah. It's the sheer force that you're able to exert, yeah. Not necessarily being able to pick up a weight and do 100 bicep curls. That's not necessarily strength, yeah. Which we'll get onto in just a minute. Okay, so in fact, I'll do it now. So strength, like I say, lots of weight, not many times. Muscular endurance is the opposite, yeah. So it's not very much weight, so a really, really light weight, but it's done over and over and over again, maybe 15 times, 20 times, 50 times, who knows. That's our endurance. So endurance is how long a muscle can go before it tires out and eventually just sort of packs in, really, yeah. So big difference there between strength and muscular endurance. Both to an extent will improve the way that the muscle looks and probably your body composition a little bit, but they're very, very different things, yeah. Muscular endurance would be really beneficial for someone like a cyclist whose, their legs are pumping the pedals over and over again, mile after mile after mile, whereas strength is better for what you see in the strongman competitions, where they pick up the big heavy atlas balls and put it on top of a pedestal, or they'll pull themselves along a rope and pull a jumbo jet or something like that. So big difference there between muscular endurance and strength. And I think that's one that a lot of people get confused about when it comes to the gym. A lot of people that I have met, and a lot of clients over the years, have wanted to get stronger, but they haven't shown any interest in strength training, if that makes sense. Because strength training, you might put a load of weight on a bar, lift it up once, put it down, and have like 5 minutes rest, so that you're fresh to do it again in a minute's time, or in 5 minutes time. So yeah, there is a big difference between strength and muscular endurance. Okay, so speed is another one. Again, probably one that we're quite familiar with. Speed is essentially distance divided by time. Is how far have you gone, how fast have you done it, really. Yeah, someone like Usain Bolt really of course benefits from speed. And then we've got reaction time. So reaction time is how quickly you can respond to a stimulus or something happening. It's like reflexes sort of thing. Then we've got flexibility. One that you might be familiar with. It's sort of range of motion at your joints, your shoulders, your hips, whatever it might be. Coordination is being able to effectively carry out a motor task. So even me just coming over here, grabbing hold of my phone and picking my phone up and moving it over to there requires a little bit of coordination. It's the same as trying to hit a ball with a bat, yeah, or hit a drum kit with your sticks or whatever it might be. It all requires a little bit of coordination. Okay, so cardiovascular endurance is different from muscular endurance in the sense that muscular endurance is just how long can the muscle go for before it tires out. Cardiovascular endurance is exactly the same, but it's talking about your cardiovascular system, so your heart and your lungs, really. Your heart and your lungs getting oxygen around your body, and how long that can maintain itself. Yeah. So, how long can you walk or run or whatever it is before your cardiovascular system really starts to struggle? Do you get out of breath? So yeah, endurance is always to do with time. How long can we sustain something for? Muscular is, of course, the muscles. Cardiovascular, anything to do with cardio, is always to do with the heart. It's the same as cardiac. If you've ever heard of cardiac arrest, that's to do with the heart as well. So cardiovascular, always to do with the heart. And of course, endurance is just how long it can go for. Body composition is just literally what your body is made up of. What percentage of it is bone, fat, muscle, water. If you've ever heard anybody comparing, what level body fat they are, or okay, I'd like to get down to 12% body fat or whatever. That's all to do with body composition, yeah. And it's a lot more to do with the aesthetic, the visual side of things. Balance is something that we, to an extent, all do at some point during the day, in one way, shape, or form. Balance is just keeping a center of sort of like a center of gravity over or center of mass over a base. So it's just the same as standing up with obviously both your feet underneath, yeah. And is obviously required in more sports than you would realize, I think, and is sometimes there's one particular client in mind that I worked with at one point where balance was the biggest thing that could improve her life. She was a blind lady who was one of my first ever clients, actually, and I was doing balancing work with her because I noticed she wasn't very sure on her feet. She was late 60s at the time, and obviously didn't have a visual point of reference for anything to help keep her balanced. The same as, it's really easy for like even if you can see they like to get vertigo. And yeah, anyway, all of this balance work that I was doing with her, she came in one day and she said, Rob, thanks to all the work that we've been doing, I can carry me tray with me tea on into the living room by myself. I don't need someone to come and do it for us. And like that's always stuck with us, and that always will. That it was making such a big difference to her life. Now again, she came in and said, look, I would like to be a little bit more fit. I'd like to be a bit more active. But again, even to her, all that meant was, the cardiovascular endurance, a little bit of, trying to burn a little bit of stored fat, work on your muscular strength a little bit. And it was only when we sat down and had a conversation and I started to find a bit more about her, and I was like, right, okay. And when it comes to balance, this is an area that I think we could improve that would help you massively, and it did. If we'd have just stuck with the original plan of I'd like to get a little bit more fit, she could have just sat and cycled on a bike and still been there to this day, really, and that wouldn't have made that difference. So it's about being smart about picking one or two of these to start on. Once you've got to where you're happy with, you can pick a different one and go somewhere else. Yeah, it's the same as like when you're in the car, when you're plotting a route, you can't, like, you have to go from here to the shop, to the petrol station, to your mates, to wherever it might be. You can't just drive in one general direction and hit them all. That's not how it works. And fitness is exactly the same. Pick yourself little landmarks, even, like, right, okay, I want to get to this point first with my flexibility. Then I'm going to go off in this direction and do this with my balance. And we're much easier to isolate and pick one or two of these to really focus on, get them nailed, and move on to something else. Right, guys, okay, so just finish these up before we move on. We've got agility, which is the ability to quickly change direction without losing your balance. We have got the next two are exercise heart rate and resting heart rate. Yeah, so our heart rate is how many times our heart is beating per minute, really. Okay, so exercise heart rate is how many beats per minute while you're exercising. And your resting heart rate, if you haven't guessed, is your heart rate just while you're at rest. So not while you're particularly active, just sort of while you're chilling. And your resting heart rate can give you an idea how hard your heart and your lungs are working, even when you're just sitting at rest. Because the harder they're working, the more strain they're under, really. So the lower beats per minute you can get to an extent, the better, really, because it's less strain. Again, using a car as an analogy, you don't want your car running on the red line all the time, well, you don't really ever want to run on the red line at all, but it's better to, like I say, just pull it back a little bit as well. Less revs means that the engine will last longer usually, and that's about the extent of my car knowledge. I'm not a mechanic, but yeah, just for the sake of analogy, it is a higher heart rate means that your heart is working harder and is under more strain. And if that is temporary while you're exercising, that's good. If that is all the time while you are at rest, it means that you need to probably get a little bit more exercise and give your heart a little bit of a hand. Okay, but that is heart rate. It's always beats per minute. So heart rate, you can even check your own. Actually, you can just take two fingers, put it on your wrist where you can feel the pulse, or on your neck, and then just count how many beats do you feel in 60 seconds or 30 seconds, and then double it. Yeah, 15 seconds, quadruple it if you want to. However you want to do it, guys, but you can get an idea what your resting heart rate is. How hard is your heart working? A normal sort of resting heart rate is sort of 60 to 80 beats per minute. So that can give you an idea. Okay, do I need to work on my fitness a little bit more? And just give my heart a little bit of a hand. Wellness is, of course, quite a general term, but it's an important one to remember, because I think a lot of these other ideas are quite sort of performance based, and in fitness in general, it can quite easily become about weight loss or weight gain. And we're about much more than that. We want to be well, we want to be happy, we want to be healthy. We don't just want to be, a bit lighter or a bit heavier. That's just your relationship with gravity. Really at the end of the day, it doesn't mark your value as a person at all. And it's not really an indicator of health either, because bodybuilders, when they get on stage, are about as depleted and sort of emaciated as anybody. So it's not just about how you look. Wellness it's a feeling, and it would be the magic product if we could put it in a bottle and sell wellness, but it's almost like a byproduct of everything else. I guess you could bring mental health into it a little bit. It's like I say, being healthy, making sure you're getting vitamins and nutrition and good sleep, and to an extent you can bring mental health in as well, and relationships and stuff. But when we're thinking of wellness, we're thinking about this overall sort of holistic, positive, healthy lifestyle, really. Okay then, guys, and of course the last two, physical activity and physical fitness, very, very similar. Physical activity is of course something that you would go and do. Physical fitness is something that you have, or maybe feel like you don't have, which is why we're here together this morning. So hopefully that's just introduced you a little bit more to or just opened the door a little bit and made you think, okay, there's all these different branches of fitness, we could say. Fitness is like the main trunk, and then we've got all these different other little branches that we could go down and really, really focus on. And of course, as with anything, you've got to pick one, haven't you? You've got to pick a lane, so they say. Okay, guys, so that leads us in nicely to what is fitness, and what does the word fitness mean to you specifically? We all have strengths and weaknesses. Some are based on our personality, some are based on our genetics and our body types. But being or getting fit is totally different depending on who you may be. So different ways we can get fit, as we've just been discussing. Cardiovascular fitness is the ability for the heart, lungs, and blood cells to supply oxygen-rich blood to the working muscles. Yeah, that is what your heart's doing. It's beating the forced blood around your body, because that blood is carrying oxygen that your muscles and everything else needs. Yeah, so it's cardiovascular fitness is how long your body can continue to do that, like we said. Strength is being able to exert physical force against an object. Again, like the Atlas stones, or pulling a car like we do. Body composition, as I mentioned, is the balance of percentage of fat, water, and muscle in human bodies. Flexibility is the range of motion in a joint or group of joints. Yeah, it's like, right, okay, when you put your hands above your head, are your shoulders there? Are they there? Can they come even further back? Can you bring them down and keep them wide? Or when you bring them down, do you try and pull in? That's flexibility. Okay, so how is fitness different for everybody? Let's have a look at a gentleman that you might be familiar with, is Usain Bolt. So for those of you that aren't familiar with him, he is a Olympic gold medal winner, and I believe still 100-meter world record holder. Fastest man alive, or he certainly was at the time. And he's somebody that I'd be hard pressed to find somebody that couldn't look at Usain Bolt and say, yeah, that guy's pretty fit. Like he's obviously pretty healthy. He's in good condition. I mean, he was running against the other best in the world, and he came out on top. It's huge testament to how, I say, talented, but just how fit this guy was as well. But in what ways is he fit and able to do what he does? So just to have a little bit of a think, those components of fitness that we've just discussed, which of those do you think are more important to what Usain Bolt does as a 100-meter sprinter? Yeah, so what of those attributes does he have that allowed him to be so good at sprinting, which was ultimately what he did or does? Right, well, let's get into it then. So we're talking muscular strength because every single step he's taken, he needs to really be able to drive through with those muscles. He needs each step to be strong, really. But not just that, but you'll see with a lot of sprinters, what they do, they punch through the air. They punch through the air to reduce wind resistance, and at the same time, if your arms are going faster, your legs tend to go faster as well. It's a strange one, but you'll notice a lot of sprinters. I mean, I know that the other runners are quite blurry, but we can see that they're quite muscular as well. They've obviously got a degree of muscular strength to be able to, punch as hard through the air as they do while they're running. Of course, there's a bit of cardiovascular fitness because your body needs to be able to get the oxygen to the muscles. But granted, during a 100-meter sprint, that might only be for 10 seconds or so, especially the speed Usain Bolt was doing in that. Body composition we'll come back to because it's a bit of a curveball. Speed, of course, he certainly wouldn't be the fastest man in the world if he didn't have his speed. I imagine that a lot of his training was based around developing that and sort of encouraging that to develop as much as possible. But at the same time, look at that next one down, reaction time. You wouldn't think reaction time would be so important, but when you think the race only lasts for 10 seconds, if you're 0.2 of a second slower off the line when the gun goes off, you're already at a disadvantage. Yeah. Usain Bolt in this picture is leading, but he's not 0.2 of a second ahead. So if everybody else had been quicker off the mark, they might have been a little bit closer to him. So even that reaction time, being able to respond to a gun going off and being able to start running, is vital. Is absolutely vital to not getting a false start and eventually not being able to run at all, but being able to react faster than everybody else around you does give you a big advantage in that sport, obviously. Coordination. He needs to, of course, be able to coordinate where his feet are going, and he needs to get his upper body moving as well. As I say, he's punching through the air. And then power as well is really important. As I say, for each step needs to be powerful. But the initial push off of the starting blocks as well, when they drive forward with their legs to start running, that needs to be powerful as well, because that can be just as important as how fast you actually get off the blocks. Yeah, so a lot of things there that actually come together to help Usain Bolt be who he is and the athlete that he was. Obviously, some of those would be more important than others, but they are all factored in. Yeah. Like I say, I wouldn't surprise me if his main focus went on probably power, speed, and maybe even reaction time. That would probably be what all of his training, or the most of his training, was designed around, really maximizing those. Right, guys. Okay, so the last one that mentions before we move on, body composition. You'll notice that his body composition is very specific for the thing that he's trying to do. This frame, this much muscle, wouldn't work as well across 26 miles? 26 and a bit miles, like a marathon is. His body composition is perfect for the sport that he does. And you'll notice that all the athletes that we look at this morning, that is going to be the case. And that is just to drive home the fact that there is no perfect body composition. There is no perfect way to look. There's no perfect body fat percentage to be at. It all depends who we are, what we'd like to do, and what the word fitness means to you. Keep coming back to that question. And we're going to keep coming back to that question this morning. Okay, then, next guy that we've got to look at is Bradley Wiggins. So for those who aren't familiar with him, he's a professional road and track racing cyclist, Tour de France winner 2012. Yeah, so he has competed with the best and come out on top. Yeah. like I said, and nobody watches the Tour de France cyclists go by and think like, oh, anybody could do that. You know, it is obvious how fit these guys are and how hard they're working when they're training and when they're cycling. You know, when at the same time, he looks totally different to Usain Bolt. He's built different to Usain Bolt, and he uses his fitness in a different way to Usain Bolt. So again, come back to this list of components that we're thinking about, and let's think, right, okay, what of those components would be important to Bradley Wiggins? Let's think about the ones that we've just discussed for Usain Bolt. Is there any that would be applicable to Bradley as well? Is there any that you would say, right, we can write that off because that would just wouldn't be important? What do we think? What do we think? I'll give you just a few seconds or so to have a little ponder, and then I'll spin on. And just while you guys have a little bit of a think. Okay then. Okay, so Bradley Wiggins, as I mentioned earlier, muscular endurance is hugely important for a cyclist, um, especially someone who is cycling for as long as the Tour de France guys do. I mean, it's absolutely mental. Do you know what? I'm gonna have to Google this. Let's have a look. How many miles is the Tour de France? Let's have a look and see how far they go. Modern editions of Tour de France consist of 21 full day-long segments over a 23-day period and cover 2,200 miles. Yeah, that needs a lot of muscular endurance. The muscles don't have to be strong. He's not trying to like push his pedals off his bike, but he does need those muscles to keep going over and over and over and over again. Yeah. In the same sense as cardiovascular, his legs need to do it, but his heart does as well. If his heart and his lungs can't get the oxygen to his legs, it doesn't matter how good those leg muscles are, they're not going to work anyway. Yeah. So he needs muscular and cardiovascular endurance. Endurance being key there because he is competing for so long. Usain Bolt sprints for 10 seconds and he's done. Bradley Wiggins cycles for 21 days. Yeah. Well over 2,000 miles. And what else? Balance. Balance is important as well. I mean, if you've ever ridden a bike, I'm sure you'll know how, especially when you're first learning, how difficult it is to stay balanced on your bike. That is literally what stabilizers are, really, isn't it? They stop you from coming off while you work on developing the balance. Power as well. You know, I mentioned that he's not trying to break his pedals, but there will be times where he's cycling uphill and he needs the power. Yeah. For every time he pushes the pedals, everybody else around him pushes their pedals as well. So he needs those strokes to be strong and consistent as well. He needs that power in them legs. And like I say, especially if he comes to a nasty hill or something like that. And again, body composition is on there. You will notice the body composition is on there, but his body composition is very different to Usain Bolt. Yeah. I'd say that Bradley Wiggins has probably got more muscle in his lower legs. Usain Bolt's probably got more muscle in his upper body. Yeah. So the way that they're built is different, and the way that they have trained themselves and their bodies is different as well. All right, guys. Okay, last one then. Last one that we've got. Michelle Kwan is a 5-time figure skating world champion and 2-time Olympic medalist as well. So again, let's think about these components. In which ways is she fit and able to do what she does? Yeah. What of those attributes does she have or use in her career or sport or event that would be most important to her? Again, coming back to that list and have a little bit of a think about the sport that she's doing. Okay, then, guys. Right. So let's start breaking it down a little bit. So a big one for any figure skater, and the same with dance, I guess, as well. Flexibility. You know, I couldn't, for all the money in the world, get myself into that position that she is in there. Um, I've never needed to, I've never tried, and therefore I can almost guarantee that my body doesn't know how to do that, and I wouldn't be overly happy about me about me trying it, and I don't necessarily recommend that anybody out there does try it. But you see some of the shapes that they get into for lifts and holds and stuff like that. You do need that level of flexibility to be able to stretch and move properly, and like I say, get into some of the artistic shapes that these athletes do. It's insane, really. Agility as well is massive when it comes to, again, figure skating, ice skating. Being able to change direction without losing balance is almost the essence of ice skating, really. You know, again, I've tried ice skating. I'm not very good at it, but I have always had decent sort of agility and balance. Those weren't my problems when it came to ice skating. Um, but yeah, the agility, being able to change direction and keep your balance, is again really important for these guys as well. Balance, just balance in general, moving or not, changing direction or not. Balance is key. You know, again, it's very similar to the bike. Maybe you've tried ice skating before, and you know the first time you get onto the ice, you've got to adapt. You've got to balance yourself in a totally different way. You've got a different sort of gravity about you. You know, so it's hard. It's harder than it looks. It really is. Coordination as well is massive in helping them pull off some of the spins that they do and the moves that they do. And you know, like you'll see them, they'll jump and do a spin like 6 times and land exactly facing the way they were going. Like, I don't know how you don't lose sight of where you are. You know, like the coordination to do that is crazy. Never mind to, you know, do a flip and land on one foot and then turn and move into something else. Coordination's insane. It's like I'm barely coordinated enough to dance, like to dad dance. Never mind doing stuff like this. So yeah, coordination is massive as well. Again, body composition is very different to the two previous examples that we've looked at, but is very specific to what she does. Yeah, or did. So again, there's no right body composition. There's no one size fits all in this is how you should look and this is the shape you should be. So always bear that in mind, guys. Muscular endurance, of course, is important. Again, it's not about strength. They don't need to do something that's really, they don't need to move something that's really heavy once, you know, but they do need to be able to do things over and over again. You know, it'll be like you say, like they might skate for what, a 3-minute track, a 4-minute track, because obviously they'll have songs on in the background, and the whatever they're skating is usually set to the music, so they'll know how long they're going to be skating for. You know, it's the same as you try and maintain anything for 5 minutes, and that endurance is going to come into play a little bit. You know, it's the same as like why footballers will work on their endurance, so they're just as sharp at the end, like in the 90th minute, as they were in the 5th. You know, that muscular endurance is really important when you're competing for a prolonged amount of time. And for the exact same reason, the cardiovascular endurance has to work as well, exactly the same as Bradley Wiggins. They're competing for an extended amount of time. Their body not only needs the muscles to cope, but they need to get the oxygen to those muscles as well, which is the heart's job. Yeah, so they both need to be fit enough to do whatever it is you need to do. Right, guys, I'm just going to go and close the curtains because that light is blinding us and I can't see the screen. I'll be 2 seconds. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, cool. Right, guys, where were we? Okay, so We're just going to have a little bit of a ponder. I want you to try and think about different examples of athletes or sports or activities that require specific components of fitness. Yeah, so I'm going to give you just again another couple of minutes, just have a little bit of a think, and we're going to see if we can get a couple of extra examples for hopefully for all of these components of fitness on the screen. But even if you can just get one or two, we'll be able to fill in the blanks together. So I'll just give you a couple of minutes to make a start on that, and then we'll tackle them as a team. Okay then, guys. So muscular strength. Muscular strength. Let's have a think about some different stuff that needs a little bit of muscular strength. So for muscular strength, being able to exert a lot of force once, we can think stuff like shot put, discus, javelin, anything where you're throwing something and only throwing it once is going to be dictated by muscular strength. Granted, there'll be an element of technique in there, but the only other variable really is strength. How strong are you? How far can you throw it? Same as the strongman when they do the strongman competitions, when they're picking up the Atlas stones or doing the log throw over their head and stuff like that. It's all just to do with muscular strength. They don't need the endurance because they're not doing it over and over again, but they do need to be able to do it once. Flexibility. I feel like we've mentioned a couple for flexibility this morning. Of course, like I say, dancing, a lot of gymnastics, ice skating, needing to pull you, like I say, anything where you need to get your body into different shapes, really, which can even include stuff like basketball. Actually, you see a lot of flexibility in the basketball. You know, being able to stretch out into a certain position to get a rebound or whatever it might be. Flexibility can go a long way in a lot of different sports. Balance. We could say balance for thinking outside the box a little bit because I've done a little bit of it. Rock climbing, bouldering, anything where you're sort of climbing and you've got your weight balanced on sort of your footholds and stuff like that, and you've got your handholds and the way that you're balanced and the way that you move from point A to point B really does rely on your balance. Like I say, anything like that really, like I say, requires that little bit of balance as well. Speed, anything where we are running, I guess, anything where running faster might give you an advantage, not necessarily the be all and end all, but speed can be helpful in sports like basketball and football and cricket and stuff like that, just because you get the added advantage of, you know, being that little bit quicker. You know, you might be able to threaten the opposition team in a different way that they're not set up to sort of they're not really set up to counter, you know. So speed will always apply to the person's speed. And if that doesn't make sense, right? Okay, looking at reaction time over on this side. Reaction time is key for, believe it or not, people like Formula One drivers. You don't get long to react to a corner's coming up, or there's something happened on the track that I need to brake or I need to avoid or something like that. Their reaction time is as important as anything really to a Formula One driver. Whereas normally your mind might go straight to, well, speed. Formula One drivers need speed. Like the car needs speed, the driver doesn't. Yeah. The driver doesn't need his speed, the car needs the speed. Yes, so speed wouldn't necessarily apply to F1 drivers, but reaction time certainly would, as would cardiovascular and muscular endurance, because you don't realize how many sort of how much force they're under when they're going around corners and they need to grip hold of the steering wheel, and just the power of the car itself puts so much through the steering wheel. Their muscles are working throughout the whole race, which is why they get to the end and they've raced for 2 hours and they get out covered in sweat and that. There's a lot of endurance in itself goes into something like Formula One driving. We've hit a couple of examples there with that. Coordination is huge in anything, like I say, squash. You've got to hit the ball with a racket. Baseball, tennis, badminton, you're hitting something with something. It all requires coordination. I don't know if we would class it as a sport, but darts is coordination. You see somewhere on the board, you're trying to get it to hit that specific place, usually, anyway, for all the darts that I've ever played. Oh, pardon me. Right, so on coordination, I guess golf as well. Golf, you see the ball, you've got to swing in a certain way to hit it. Bowling could be coordination. Like I say, as well as a lot of other stuff that we do day to day. Picking up a guitar, playing almost any musical instrument requires some form of coordination. So it's not just sports. Agility, as we've mentioned, being able to change direction without losing your balance, applies to the same sort of stuff as certainly flexibility. Your figure skating, your dancing, whatever it might be, gymnastics again. Agility can also apply to stuff like American football, where they'll go to look like they're going to be in one place, and this big hefty unit of a guy goes to absolutely floor them, but then he'll move quickly in a different direction, the other guy misses, and then he's away down the rest of the field. Agility, it's not just about keeping your balance. Sometimes it can be about throwing somebody off, especially when it comes to a competitive sport. Cardiovascular endurance, reaction time, and muscular endurance we covered with the F1. If you think of any other examples for any of these, by all means, do pop them in the chat. Do drop me an email and let us know what you thought of. I'm always happy to, like I say, get little emails like that. And then body composition is the last one. And like I say, I'm always careful of, around the idea of body composition, because I always like to enforce that there is no right and wrong body composition at all. It depends, like I say, who you are, what your goals are, what's important to you. Yeah, because the way that some person wants to look is not the same way that somebody else would want to look or need to look to be able to do whatever it is that they need to do. Okay then, guys, so just to wrap up this little section, each of these athletes that we've just looked at have competed at the top of their sports and have often gone on to win. Yeah, each of them are people that we could call fit, yet we can see that they are fit in different ways depending on their lifestyles, their goals, and their body type. We've listed body composition as something that helps each of these athletes to be at the top of their game, but they all have different builds. Just shows there is no ideal body composition. It depends who you are. Often, body types can play a big role in what types of fitness come most naturally to ourselves. So again, when it comes to our fitness journeys or your fitness journey, the most important thing to do is to set yourself off on a journey that is sustainable. Yeah, it's not something that you want to give in after a week or 2 weeks. It's hopefully going to be something that you can keep up for the foreseeable future, really. So with that in mind, and trying to put myself into the mindset of that first time I ever walked into a gym, or having been in other fitness environments where I felt totally out of my own depth, across the years. It's not all about being naturally good at something to be able to get the results. But finding something that feels a bit more natural to you can help you find something that you can be more consistent at. If you feel as though something's manageable and plays to a strength, you're much more likely to maintain it. I can't count the amount of people that I've had come to, or I've seen turn up to a fitness class, you know, for the first one of the year, and then they've realized it's not for them, and then you never see them again, you know. And it's like, the only way to get results is to keep at what you're doing. I've been to classes before where I've gone in and gone, this is hard, I can't wait for next week and I can get a little bit better. I've also been to classes where I've gone, this isn't for me, this just isn't for me, and I haven't gone back the next week, you know. You know, if you find something else to move on to, that's fine. But if that could be a bit disheartening, we're trying to avoid that, really. You know, I do know a lot of people that have gone, tried something, fell out of their depth, and then said, you know what, that's it, that's an indicator for me to not try it all. And then I'm not going to try it all. And then they don't move on to something else. They've just given up at that point. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to avoid. So if we can find something that feels a little bit more natural to us, it increases our chances of being consistent. So with that said, our body types and our shape will often sort of give us an idea of what might come more naturally to us. Look at our different body types. Okay then, guys. So on the left-hand side, we've got our endomorph. So our endomorph, then our mesomorph in the middle, and our ectomorph on the end. Yeah, and we can see that they're all totally different shapes. So some real life examples and some characteristics of these different body types, because again, understanding our own body type can be helpful in finding stuff that we might be good at, might not be so good at. Not that that means that we can't go and try something, or just be aware of trying to find yourself something that you're going to be able to be consistent at, and trying to avoid finding something that's going to put you off the experience altogether, really. Because everybody, it doesn't matter how keen you are, no matter how much you want to get fit, everybody could go to something, I imagine, that would make them go, oh, I'm not trying this. So yeah, finding something that works for you is the key, really. Okay, so endomorphs often are what we would call a pear-shaped, where the waist is bigger than the chest. Endomorphs usually have short arms and legs relative to the rest of their body. Obviously, like this guy, the mountain from Game of Thrones, is about 7 foot tall. No one's going to have the cheek to call his limbs short. Yeah. But for his height, his limbs are short. And with the upper part of the limbs are normally larger than the lower. So you can see how from where his hip would be down to his kneecap is bigger than from his knee down to his ankle, really, like his shin. Yeah, so the upper part of the limbs is longer. Endomorphs, the biggest characteristics though usually tend to be they can store fat really easily and gain fat really easily, and when they are training and exercising, they can quite easily gain muscle mass as well. Yeah. So famous endomorphs, you might have like Eddie Hall is a famous endomorph. Someone like probably even like Johnny Wilkinson, thinking back to the team that won the Rugby World Cup, Johnny Wilkinson. I mean, some wrestlers like the Big Show and stuff like that, obviously endomorphs. But then you've got people like Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt would probably be an endomorph, to be honest. But what we get is people tend to be a mix of one or two. Yeah. So anyone who sat there thinking that Chris Pratt can't be an endomorph because of how he looks in Guardians of the Galaxy and the Avengers and stuff like that, go back and look at his shape. He's much more natural shape in Parks and Recreation. If you go back and look at Parks and Rec, you can see Chris Pratt's much more natural physique. Yeah. He's undergone a lot of training and stuff to be in the shape that he's in some of the movies later on in his career, but naturally, genetically, he is part endomorph. Yeah. Now, like I say, we don't tend to be one of these alone. We tend to be a mix of two of them. Yeah. So Chris Pratt would be endomorph mixed with a mesomorph, which we can go and look at now. Actually, we can go and look at the other mesomorphs. So mesomorphs are average build with the muscle definition and strength of an athlete, which you would probably say looking at Chris Pratt right now. Yeah, broad shoulders, narrow waist, looks like he builds muscle easily, and are generally more muscular than endomorphs and ectomorphs. Yeah, we'll get to ectomorphs in a second. A fast metabolism helps people with this body type lose fat and maintain weight when they follow a healthy diet and exercise program. Yeah, so mesomorphs and endomorph would be, like I said, probably somebody like Chris Pratt. Other famous mesomorphs, though. Let's have a think. Can we think of any more famous mesomorphs? So again, they don't walk around looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, that's just a really extreme example. But his body type and his genetics was the reason why he was able to be the best in the world. Yeah, it's the same as I could train as hard as Arnold. I could eat the same food as Arnold, but I'm never going to be built like that because I don't have the genetics. Not to mention that he's probably nigh on nearly a foot taller than I am. You know, and we all have, like I say, different genes, and this natural gift that he had was what made him so untouchable. I think he won like 7 Mr. Olympia competitions in a row. And when he was at his peak, was just nigh on untouchable. And if you think that, like, how the people that he competed against must be kicking themselves. It's like any other time I'm in a condition that's good enough to win this competition, but I'm doing this at the same time as Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's the chances? You know, he was just look at a picture of him when he was 16. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger at 16, it was bigger than I have ever been in my life. And it's genetics, it's his body type. Like I say, we all have our own different body types, and we all tend to land somewhere between two of these, really. Can you think of any other famous mesomorphs then? So other famous mesomorphs, you'd probably be able to include people like LeBron James. If you're familiar with LeBron James, he's got a very unique sort of physical gift. Chris Hemsworth, yeah. Chris Hemsworth. Someone like Cristiano Ronaldo would probably be part mesomorph as well. Let's have a look. Let's try and find some female ones, actually. Let's find, what is a female mesomorph? Right, I'm going to keep searching. While we move on to the last body type. So we've got ectomorphs, which are people that are considered naturally thin, genetically predisposed to have this body type, and are often typically skinny their whole lives. Tend to have a really fast metabolism, and usually have difficulty building muscle mass. Now, this is the body type that I certainly relate to the most. I can say that all of those have applied to me for as long as I can remember. And it's a strange one because, you know, I say to people, I can eat for England and never put any weight on. And some people, quite rightly so, look and say, well, aren't you lucky what you're complaining about? I'd kill to be in that position, you know? Whereas I can see someone who like I know somebody in my private life who is an endomorph meets mesomorph. But he doesn't exercise or train or anything. So he looks a lot more like this than he looks like Arnold. And I was like, it's not like it's a constant thing or anything, but I've just on occasion I've thought to myself, do you know what? Like you've got genetics that you're not using that people would kill for, you know, and at the same time he would look at me and say, Rob, I wish I could eat what I want and just get away with it, you know. So pros and cons. But all of these body types have pros and cons. But yeah, it's handy to be able to have a little bit of a think and hopefully identify which body type you sort of relate to the most or which two. Because like I say, you can get a bit more of an idea, right? Okay, I'm gonna try this fitness now. I'm gonna try that fitness now. It's the same as like, not that to my knowledge they don't exist, certainly not in this country. But it'd be like if somebody like an ectomorph, like me, if I was getting into fitness and I'm like, look, I'm new to this. I'm going to try something out. If I or Mo Farah turned up at a sumo wrestling club or dojo or whatever, we're not going to have a good time, really, are we? You know, and that would be enough to say if that's what fitness is. Sod that, you know. But like I say, it's not all about being a natural at something. It's not always about winning. It's not always about being the best. It's not even always about being good. It's just not putting yourself in a situation where you feel so disheartened that you give up. Yeah, and that's really what we're trying to avoid by reflecting on our strengths, our weaknesses, our potential body types, what might be for me, what might not be for me. And then you can take the component of fitness that's important to you and you can start to point yourself in a direction and think, right, that might work for me. That might, you know, there's no guarantee the first try will, but you can, at least you've got options, you've got different ideas, and you've got a little bit of a plan, really. So other famous ectomorphs, you could probably include someone like certainly like Bruce Lee, definitely a famous ectomorph. I couldn't name any off the top of my head, but definitely endurance athletes. So anybody that does triathlons, or is it decathlons, however many athlons, they are all the best tend to be ectomorphs, because if you're going, like I mentioned at the start of the session, if you're going over a long distance, it pays to be built like this and weigh 60-70 kilograms than to be built like that and carrying 200 kilograms, you know. And that goes a long way as well. Like if you're an endomorph, the last thing that you might want to do really is sign yourself up for like a duration event or something like that. Try and play to your strengths a little bit if you can, you know, because sure, we all feel a little bit better when we feel as though we can manage something or something's achievable. Right, guys, I'm going to get this now just because I've made a point of this. I'm trying to find female mesomorphs. Apparently Janet Jackson. Apparently Janet Jackson is a mesomorph. And that's interesting. Yeah. No, now you think about it. Natural muscularity, broad shoulders, easy lose weight. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of her. I wouldn't have thought of her. Somebody like Janet Jackson, Jennifer Garner, Anna Kournikova, Madonna. So yeah, the same applies to men and women. I think it's just maybe it's a little bit easier to visually show extreme examples with blokes that are so far either way, really. Right. Okay, then where are we? Where are we? So by now, we can see that to be fit means something different to everybody, and there's no right or wrong way to go about it. We can see how different components of fitness are important in many ways, depending on your goals and lifestyle. Yeah. So again, you might not now be sat there thinking, right, okay, I'm going to go be a Formula One driver, but you can also be thinking like, right, okay, I can see how reaction time and endurance is more important to an F1 driver than I would have thought. And that those are probably the main things that they focused on because that's what they wanted to do. Now, assuming that you don't want to be an Olympic athlete or a professional footballer, as nice as it would be, if your fitness goal is just, I would like to get a little bit more, I would like to be more fit. I would like to be able to, if that really means I'd like to be able to go further without getting out of breath. Right, well, now you know it's that cardiovascular endurance that you need to work on. And to train and develop that cardiovascular endurance is totally different from how you would improve your strength. So if physical strength isn't that important to you, you don't need to do that style of training, especially not right now. So if you can focus on one or two of these that are most important to you, you don't need to know how to develop them. You can ask me. Even once this course is done, you can even just drop me an email and say, look, Rob, I really want to work on my, it might be flexibility, maybe you were a little bit stiff from 2 years of isolation and lockdown and sitting at home and restrictions and stuff like that. Maybe you just want to move a little bit better, get a little bit less stiff. You can always just drop me an email and say, look, Rob, I've realized that these are the things that I'd like to work on. Have you got any ideas? Have you got any recommendations? I might be able to point you towards free online resources or exercise videos or point you in the direction of a class or something that I might recommend or a sporting club or something, but you can only do that once you've figured out, right, this is what's important to me. Yeah. Because like I say, I spent the first 6 months that I was in the gym strength training rather than trying to build muscle, which was what I wanted, which are again two totally different things. But yeah, just a chance for you to have a little bit of a think and a little reflect on which of these components are important to you and the lifestyle that you'd like to lead. If that involves exercise and sport in anything more than just a recreational fashion, then great, excellent. If you can see a way to move forward and potentially be an athlete or whatever, then that would be amazing. But 99% of us aren't in that boat. We're not looking and thinking, right, I need to be the best at this because I want a gold medal. All we have to do and look and say, do you know what? I wish I was a bit more flexible, or I wish my balance was better, or I wish I had better coordination or reaction times, like that sort of thing. And once you've done that, then yeah, you can work on them. You can develop them, but you can't do it until you've reflected on what's important to you, I guess. Yeah. So that is where we can hand over to you and you can have a little bit of a think. So although many people do not fall into one specific body type, it can be a mix. Being able to recognize our own body types, strengths and weaknesses can help us decide what fitness means to us and which of these aspects we'd like to maintain and improve on. Yeah. But like we've been saying, this could also highlight which physical activities we might be more naturally suited to, helping us get more active. Slide that. Oh. Okay, I think we're there. I think we're there. Okay, so what does fitness mean to you? So by all means, if you wanted to, if you want to put this in the chat and share it, then by all means do. If you want to grab yourself a pen and paper, I would recommend at least writing this down somewhere so it's something that you can see from time to time, and it might just bring the thought back to your mind. Because we're not just going to ask some questions now, it's over to you to hopefully start to figure out a couple of answers for yourself. So, one question at a time. So yeah, grab yourself a pen and paper, jot the question down, and then just make yourself a couple of notes, or, you know, even jot something quick and come back to it later once you've had a bit more time to think about it. But which of those components of fitness are important to you? Yeah? Is it strength, flexibility, coordination, balance, agility, muscular strength, muscular endurance, cardiovascular endurance, power? There's so many in there. And like I say, it's impossible to develop them all at once. So which are most important to you? Just pick two, maximum of two. Pick one if it is that clear. Which components of fitness are most important to you? Second question. It might sound like the same question. It's just handy to phrase it in a bit of a different way. Sometimes I might just send you off on a little bit of a different thought trail. What components of fitness are important to your goals and the lifestyle that you want to lead? Yeah. So do you want to be able to play with the grandkids when they come round? Would you love to be fit enough to walk a dog so that you can get a dog or have a dog and have a bit of companionship or whatever it might be? Is it just important to you that your lifestyle and your fitness is enough for you to walk down the high street and pick a paper up for yourself or whatever it might be? Yeah. So what's important to you? What's important to the lifestyle that you want or need to lead? And what's important to your goals as well? Do you have any specific goals that are important to you, especially now? Do you have any goals that are really sort of sticking out to you now that we've reflected on stuff a little bit? Okay, next one. What is your body type? Of the three that we've discussed, do you have two maybes that you feel that maybe your body types? Even if you can just narrow down one that you feel as though you kind of relate to a little bit, I guess. So what is your body type? Remember, we had our ectomorph, thin, skinny. Endomorph, that pear shape where the waist is normally bigger than the chest. Or was it the mesomorph, the broad shoulders, the narrow waist, the natural sort of muscle definition? What do you think is your body type? Okay. What are your strengths? What do you feel as though you're good at? Again, think about those components of fitness. Yeah. Think about which of those you feel as though you might be good at or best at. What are your strengths? Next up, maybe a tougher question to ask yourself. What are your weaknesses? Sometimes hard to admit to ourselves what our weaknesses are. But remember, this isn't necessarily your personal qualities or attributes. Just for now, just think about those components of fitness. What are your weaknesses? Is it flexibility, strength, power, endurance? Yeah, what are your weaknesses? Because then we can try and find a bit of a balance as well. Something that, or some things that might play to our strengths and make us feel like we can manage and like we've got a good grip on the situation. And then you might also want to work on your weaknesses to hone them skills a little bit and sort of improve on the whole. You know, it could be seen as trying to turn your weaknesses into a strength, so they say. But what are your weaknesses? If anything, it might just tell you what you really want to stay away from. Yeah. If you feel as though one of your weaknesses is muscular endurance, You know, as much as a spin class would help, maybe don't make it the first thing that you go to think that you're really struggling, to get disheartened and really sort of take yourself out of that fitness journey headspace that you're in. Yeah. And again, that's different from everybody. I can't tell you how to take the answers to these questions and really use them. I can give you some advice, but this is your fitness journey. This is your time to reflect and get a bit more of a clear idea in your mind of what you want that journey to be. Okay, so which approaches to fitness, or what methods of fitness, what activities, what training styles, whatever, what approaches to fitness can play to your strengths and the components of fitness that are important to you. So if you feel as though you've got, again, good muscular endurance, and the components of fitness that are important to you are muscular and cardiovascular endurance, like a spin class might be really good for you. Yeah, because it plays to your strengths a little bit, and it's working on the components that you've highlighted and indicated as being important to you. Yeah. So what approaches of fitness can play to your strengths and the components of fitness that are important to you? Because once you've got the other answers, that's the big question, really. What ways of being fit are available that plays to your strengths, hopefully, and hits the components of fitness? Because if you can answer that question with something that's available to you, you're well on your way to success there. Because if it's playing to a strength and going to make you fit in the way that you want to, it's a win-win. It's a win. Okay then, guys. So we're nearly there. If everyone's gonna skip straight on. Of course it is. Okay then, guys. Cool. So last one. We've got a group activity. We've got a group activity to do. Joanna needs our help. So, guys, it's one for you to have a little bit of a think about. And again, I've just got one eye on the time. I'll not give you too long to think about it, but again, maybe just pause it on your end before I actually give anything away, and have a little bit of a ponder. So this group activity, Joanna has come to us as a collective PT or fitness group or instructor or whatever and said, look guys, I need your help. It's January. I want to get fit. I want to get more active. Where do I start? Joanna wants to get active, doesn't know where to start. So she's got good coordination, but poor flexibility. She feels as though she's not very strong, but has great agility. She has good cardiovascular fitness, and she is a mix between Endomorph and Mesomorph. Now remember, our body types don't limit what we can and can't do. Yeah, they just guide us towards what might come more naturally. Yeah, so it's not about what you can and can't do. If you're an ectomorph like I am, you want to go sumo wrestle and you enjoy it, knock yourself out. Go for it. Go for it. Be happy. Live your best life. This isn't about putting limits or restrictions or barriers on ourselves. It's just about trying to figure where we might have a little bit more success and consistency, because that's what gets us real results, sticking at something. So what can we suggest then? What can we suggest Joanna does to get more active and fit? Good coordination, poor flexibility. Isn't very strong, but has good agility. It does have good cardiovascular fitness. She's a mix between an endomorph and a mesomorph. What could we advise that Joanna goes and does? Right, guys, I am going to start rambling and rattling off a couple of things that we could give Joanna to do. If you want to pause it here and have a little bit more of a think, that's great. I more than encourage that, have a little bit of a think of what we might be able to ask Joanna to do. So, good coordination and good cardiovascular fitness and good agility. That's what she feels like she's good at. She doesn't feel as though she's very strong or very flexible. So Joanna, as anybody could do, is to get it out of the way with first. Could take up walking. Yeah. She's already got a little bit of cardiovascular fitness there as well. She doesn't have to go far. Yeah. She doesn't need to be strong or have good flexibility to do that. Again, we might be able to suggest that it could be running, really. You know, get yourself out for a run instead. If that cardiovascular fitness is more, get yourself out for a run. You know, I wouldn't necessarily point her towards stuff like CrossFit and stuff like that, because she doesn't feel as though she's very strong. And although doing some weights will improve her strength, you know, that might not be important to her at all anyway, and she might not want to be any stronger. So to say, well, get yourself in the gym and lift some weights, you know, it's not the thing that she's most focused on improving. But yeah, she does. So she's not very strong, but she's got good agility and coordination. So that automatically opens up a lot of other sports. You know, good cardiovascular fitness. Could she do netball? Could she do tennis, badminton, squash, anything like that? You know, she's got good coordination for it. You don't need to be overly strong. And she's got good agility and some cardiovascular fitness as well. Again, coming in with the fitness, agility, coordination, she can dance. It doesn't necessarily have to be get yourself out to dance classes and stuff like that, or Zumba, which is essentially just exercise to music. So it's just what dance is anyway, really, I guess. But that could be just flicking on the radio in the house or queuing Spotify away, and having a bit of dance while you do the hoovering or do the washing up or whatever. It all burns calories. So that's what we've got to think as well. We're trying to be more active and fit, which doesn't just involve fitness classes, going to the gym. Yeah, there's all different ways we can be active and fit. Like I say, walking, dancing, jobs around the house. We actually burn more calories in the hours outside the gym each day than we do in the 1 hour that we might be at the gym. Yeah, the majority of the calories that you burn day to day aren't burned in the gym. Yeah, there's so much more to it. It's about being mobile and active and just like I say, just trying to move more, I guess. Trying to move more, which is really important, especially after, you know, the couple of years that it's been and how restricted a lot of things have been. Okay, guys, cool. That'll about wrap us up there then. I can't believe how quick that's gone over this morning. I hope you've all enjoyed that session. Like I say, it is just a little course in a vacuum, really. I guess it's just a little one-off today. But if you know you're interested in any of the other courses that we are running or will be running, by all means do get in touch. And Ali, I can even just make sure that you go into an emailing list and hear all about the courses that are coming up. Even if there's none right now or any that you sort of think would be right for you to sort of complete. But yeah, do remember as well that links to all of our social media is in the description as well, the description for the video. So if you want to keep up with us on, like I say, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, all of those links are in that description as well there, guys. But yeah, hopefully it's just enough to get you thinking a little bit. Like I say, we're into the new year. We've probably all had a little bit more food and drink than we would have liked at Christmas. So yeah, now's a really good chance to be thinking, right, what does the path ahead of me look like? How am I going to get where I want to be? And do you even know where you want to be right now? Yeah. Something to have a little bit of a think about, guys. You know where I'm at if you need me in the meantime. Drop me an email if you've got any questions, queries, whatever it might be. Drop me in an email. I did put that in the chat earlier on. Yeah, guys, cool. So we'll wrap up there then. Please don't forget to do that survey that I mentioned at the start of the session. Like I say, it's really important to us. if you want to learn more about nutrition and taking care of the human body, like I say, check out any upcoming courses and our drop-in sessions as well that we do on a Friday morning, where we, a little bit more of a casual sense, will talk a little bit more about nutrition and, like I say, anatomy and training and stuff like that, and what you can do right now. And yeah, that'll finish us up nicely for the day, guys. Like I say, don't forget to check out that fitness video, and remember that the rest of them are on the Media Savvy YouTube channel as well. Either start with a stretching video and work through them, or just come back on the days that you feel extra motivated and pick a different video to do. Like I say, there's something in there for everybody. I always offer alternatives in case an exercise gives you a bit of pain or you struggle with something. And then again, as always, if you need me, drop me an email. I'm always happy to help. Enthusiasm, I guess, point enthusiasm in the right direction, you know. If you know that you're ready to get going and you want to be on this fitness journey, but you don't really know where to start, you know, you could just be an email to me away from actually being on that journey. So yeah, please don't hesitate to get in touch, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for watching back later on in the week, even once this session has ran live. And of course, thank you for choosing to spend your time with us at Media Savvy. Like I say, we've got other courses coming up between now and the summer. So yeah, just keep your ear to the ground and let me know if you want to be sort of updated as we progress through the term. Yeah, we'll call it there then, guys. Stay safe. Look after those around you. Have a great start to 2022. I know we're already kind of off the mark, but it still feels early enough to certainly put that positive energy out there. I hope everybody has a good year. And yeah, guys, you know where to find me in the meantime. Thank you again so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in a later video. Take care.